Yeah, hello everybody. Good evening to each of you. Yeah, welcome to Pragati, an open house of all the AA participants. And this is our first open house, which we have, which we are planning to host once in a month. So my name is Mahesh, and I'm the co-founder of Samati. So our first session today will be it will be the thought for the month with Sumita Kale, an economist at Indicus Foundation, and she has been heading the Indicus Center for Financial Inclusion since its inception in 2011. And after that, my colleague Vamsi will be presenting about all the info about the journey so far and the plan we have for 2022. And lastly, we will have the presentations from three technology service providers, which will happen, simultaneously in the three rooms. At the end of Vamsi's session, he will inform you all on what is the topic, which will be shown in each of the rooms, and each of you can decide in which room you want to be there. And let me bring Sumit on the stage because I'm sorry. Sumita recently has co-authored an excellent paper, called a game changer for financial inclusion. With her colleague, uh, Lavish Bhandari and Professor Anantan Nageshwaran, who recently was appointed as the chief economic advisor to the government of India. So, Sumita, we are really, really excited to have you on our show today. And, your paper is, I would say, very well written, and I would say it's very well structured. And, especially after the September 2nd event launch, we see that what you have covered is not about the history, but what is that we need to do, like especially, I mean, I think everybody over here knows that, we have a dashboard, which is updated every week. And, your paper speaks specifically about how we should be, looking at the performance. The AA ecosystem should look into the pricing. It should look into the user experience, and most importantly, about the grievance. Also, all those topics have been covered. So, we would love to hear from you. I think we all would want to know, what exactly Indicus does. What are the areas which you work on, and is there something which is, somewhat, relevant, to the account aggregator ecosystem?
Okay. Good evening, Mahesh, and thank you so much for inviting me to present our paper and to talk about our work. Um, we have been, Lavish Bhandari and I, we've been working at Indicus for a very long time on financial inclusion, which has essentially been about banking and about low income, usually financially illiterate customers. We started our work sometime in 2006, and 2011 is when we set it up, the Indicus Center for Financial Inclusion, specifically to deal with these issues. Our focus is about regulation and policy, and both of us have a very strong academic background. So essentially, we look upon ourselves as outside observers who are seeing how the industry and the government and the regulator are all working together to create something which is of value for at a micro level for a particular customer, for a particular household, but also at a macro level for the entire economy. Socially as well as for the economy, financial inclusion is an extremely important objective. Now, what we have been doing at Indicus is that we talk to many people, and everybody comes from different perspectives, so they're very diverse perspectives because there's so many stakeholders in this chain. We talk to people, we get together, we kind of bring together all their perspectives, and we try to see from the regulatory and policy view what is lacking, what additional support can possibly be given, and so on. So we've been bringing out policy briefs and white papers. Again, it's not just our view. Our view is uh, bringing together the views from the industry. So we're looking at the practical experiences of what is needed and what is in place.
So it isn't that you work only with, with the government and the policy, but if
No,
I'm right,
no,
you also work with the folks who actually implement things.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
we are actually bringing all of them
The
together.
marketplace.
Yeah,
The
we're
marketplace.
bringing them all together.
So now, because like in your field, I'm sure you all, I mean, you're not looking only at India, you're all looking at what's happening in the area of the financial inclusion, data empowerment, yeah, data privacy across the world. I mean, I think you all are very, very, a lot more familiar than us what's happening across the globe. So, is there something what you've seen there? I mean, it's not only about the success. I would say sometimes very important to hear even about the failures. What didn't work there. So, is it, is there a fear that the same thing can happen here? So, are there any learnings from around the globe which you think that our ecosystem should actually keep in mind?
Right. So essentially, since this is a very evolving, emerging area, uh, it involves tech, it involves legal aspects as well. So I think each country is grappling, or each region is grappling with its own issues, which are very particular to its own particular, to its own ecosystem. And India has been leading in such innovative ways. The retail payments, for instance, even the getting people onto using a smartphone or using a phone for their payments, we are way ahead a lot of people in the developed world. But what we can learn from the global experience is a collaborative approach to policy and regulation. These issues are new for the Reserve Bank as well. They're new for the government as well. So it's not it's people need to come together to have a very consultative, collaborative approach, which I think they have been doing. It's not I'm not putting this out as a as a negative, but I think there is a lot of caution from the point of view of the regulator and the government, because there are
Okay.
multiple objectives that need to be resolved, unbalanced. There are macro risks, there is financial inclusion, because like I said, at the end user is in India particularly is somebody who has no support to fall back on, no financial support to fall back on. So you have to be extremely careful about what you're actually exposing that person to.
So basically, even when you speak about the financial inclusion, the way I see is that we do have a very large, population in India who actually qualify, okay, for a loan, okay, but are not able to get access to formal credit system. So I would say that it is them we can actually take care of, and not the freebies or anything like.
Absolutely,
Absolutely.
absolutely. I think there's a huge scope which still has to be tapped. And at the same time, like I said, we have to balance the problem of fraud, risk, and so on. So for us, we feel that a customer grievance redressal mechanism where all the participants everybody in the chain
Same.
knows exactly what the process is, who's responsible for what, and the person who's actually the customer, they should also know if something fails, if something goes wrong, who are they going to
Yeah,
talk to.
who should there
This
be?
is still not in place in many places in India. Even for the DBT chain, they're still trying to get this in place. And India being the country we are, we're so large, we're so heterogeneous. It is going to be difficult. But if Sahmati, for instance, can put together some kind of standard, some kind of a framework, which guidelines which can be adopted by the industry, that would be a huge benefit.
But we have already started that work, and you will see in the next few days. At least we will have a platform, where the ecosystem entity FIPs and FIUs will be able to raise a ticket about what issues they are having, and it will be resolved. So it would be the first version, and a lot more is to be done. And I'm sure you all will hear from us about that. So now, is there anything you would say that what this ecosystem, the industry specifically, should work in this year, in this calendar year?
For the calendar year, I think
12
there are
months. Yeah.
yeah. I think the main point, like at the risk of repetition, is to keep in mind the end user that you're looking at is maybe a small business person, maybe a household that needs money, that needs a credit to overcome their problems, and especially with the pandemic, people have been affected extremely significantly and dramatically different from what it was in a normal year. So I think extending support in a very careful, calibrated manner, so that everybody is, the system is moves forward smoothly and doesn't get rocked. I mean, I know I'm putting in many qualifiers, but I think if you go into the process with caution,
Yeah.
it'll definitely save us the long term
Yeah.
risks.
So is there, okay, now you would say that, I mean, I'm extremely grateful that, about what the paper had covered about Samati, about the work we have been doing and what it should do. So it would be great to hear from you, our audience also, what do you think we as, Samati should focus on as we go forward, on the regulatory, on the policy or the use case front. Of course, as we go forward, I think, we'll have to focus a lot on the end consumer. Okay,
Absolutely.
about, because a lot more has to be done, and we will be, because the customer education is one for sure. So, is there something you have to say about what we should do?
I think you've made a brilliant start with the data, with a dashboard, with the data that comes out, so that there is a credible source of information for everyone to know exactly where we are in the process and who's coming on board, where they actually belong. The next step would be to get in metrics about success. This may be a little premature right now, but if we can have a baseline for this, is to that those are detailed in the paper, so I won't go into it. And I'm not even sure which ones are practical and which ones are feasible. But just to see how much of progress is actually being made in impacting the lives of low income customers. Some kind of metrics towards that, if that could be put into place, that would be very good.
Correct. With
Customer grievance redress we've already spoken about, absolutely essential, because I think you'd be doing a lot of other institutions also a favor if you brought a framework,
Yes.
upfront for people to
Yes.
be adopting it. And I think what else? I think getting more small institutions on board
Okay.
would be another.
So the long tail ones is very important for us
Yeah,
to get them on
yeah,
board.
because small cities, tier 2, 3 cities, small institutions which are already operating out there, getting them also into the. It's going to be a slow process, but I think that's where you're heading.
So, so thank you, Sumita, for this introduction about, and also for sharing your thoughts. I would inform the audience that we have shared the link of the blog post. Like actually in the chat, you'll be able to click and read the summary of the paper, and also read. I mean, you'll be able to see the entire paper. So thank you, Sumita,
Thank you
and
so much.
thank you.
Thank you. Please do connect with us on LinkedIn as well. We are on LinkedIn with any thoughts and any other feedback that you would like to have on our paper or anything else which is emerging. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sumita.
Thanks.
Yeah, now I request Swamsi to come on the stage and present his actually thoughts on the journey so far, and the road ahead. I'm waiting for Vamsi.